Good morning, happy Monday, or as I like to refer to it as Happy Taco Tuesday Eve. Welcome to Exam Prep Week 2020, and my name is Miss Farr. I am one of two teachers who has been presenting the virtual APUSH lessons. If you've been with us this entire time, you know about my partner in crime, Mr. Horton, who will be with us tomorrow. For today's purposes, we're going to kind of run things a little different to kind of give you guys a full exam experience of what it will look like on the day that you will take your AP exam, which will be next Friday. So again, welcome. I am at Cambridge High School in Milton, Georgia, by way of Atlanta. I want to say thank you for everyone who has been tuning in with us for the last 2 weeks. And if this is your first time tuning in with us, I hope that this week will be very beneficial for you as we help you get ready for the AP exams. So let's kind of go ahead and get started very quickly. All right, so this is going to be your DBQ practice number 1. So keep in mind that what you see today, when we kind of talk about it and go over it tomorrow, it will be a completely different question for tomorrow. So we recommend that you get as much practice in as possible so that you are prepared when you take your exams on the 15th. All right, so one thing I wanted to let you know that this is an opportunity for practice for the APUSH exam. You will complete a question that is representative of the task that you will see on this year's exam within the time that you will be allotted on the actual exam. So I will be here to kind of give you friendly reminders of things that you should be doing as you're kind of pacing through. So kind of keep that aware. And then once we kind of get down to the final 5 minutes, I will let you know that when is a good time to start submitting and how that process will look, how that process looks. So again, sorry if I made a mistake. So today's question, we will review it tomorrow, and then on Wednesday, you will have a completely different question. So just note that this question has been designed to be a similar structure and format that you will see on the APUSH exam, but is not intended to be representative of the content that will be assessed. And so what that basically means is that you will not see this question on the exam, nor will you see the question that you will get on Wednesday on the exam. It will be a completely fresh, different question. Okay, so remember, it is going to cover periods 3 through 7. So just kind of keep that in mind. Okay, so first and foremost, just kind of give you a bit of information. Your sample question will be 45 minutes plus 5 minutes to submit. So for a total of 50 minutes. Here is your sample question. Evaluate the relative importance of the causes of cultural change in the United States in the period from 1914 to 1945. So where are you going to find the questions for this practice? I'm going to give you a few minutes to go find that. The question is based on 5 accompanying documents, and it's linked in the video description. So if you are in YouTube right now, if you click on the down arrow, you will see a feed of different resources and links. You will need to click on the one that will take you to a Google Drive that will link you to the documents for today. They come in 2 versions. There's a PDF version, I believe, and there's also a Word version, so it really doesn't matter which version you decide to use. Just know that these are the documents that will answer this question, and you should see the exact same question within the document set. The documents have been edited for the purpose of this exercise. Kind of keep that in mind. Some things I want you to remember, and I will keep this slide up. Also, you'll notice on the far side right here, if you want to kind of type in these questions on your URL, type in this right here, and it'll bring you to the AP's to the AP US History sample questions. What you need to do, you need to respond to the prompt with historically defensible thesis or claim that establishes a line of reasoning. So again, respond to the prompt with a historically defensible thesis or claim that establishes a line of reasoning. Next, you need to describe a broader historical context relevant to the prompt. You need to make sure that you support an argument in the response to the prompt with at least 4 documents. You need to use 2 additional pieces of historical evidence beyond what is found in the documents relevant to an argument about the prompt. And for at least 2 of the documents, that means only 2, you need to explain how or why the document's point of view, purpose, historical situation, and or audience is relevant to the argument, which means you only need to do one of those things. You don't have to do all of them. That is your HIP method that we've been working on for the past several weeks. And then you need to use evidence to corroborate, qualify, or modify an argument that addresses the prompt. So hopefully you guys have had an opportunity to either go to the URL and download the sample questions, or you've clicked on the link in the video. I'm going to give you about 30 more seconds to get that information up. And then once I start the timer, I want you to go ahead. I'm going to disappear, but I am going to be here to kind of monitor and kind of give you some reminders of when you should have went ahead and be writing in your DBQ. And also kind of remind you, I will give you 30-minute reminder, 20-minute reminder, and then at the 5-minute mark. Okay, coming down to the final 10 seconds to have those documents uploaded. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you may begin working now. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, 10 minutes has passed. It is now recommended that you go ahead and begin writing your DBQ. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you have 25 minutes of actual work left. 25 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, you have 15 minutes remaining. 15 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, you have 5 minutes remaining. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we will go ahead and stop the timer because this is going to be the time that you have in order to submit your work. And so I'm going to walk you through the process of what that means. So at the last 30 seconds, if you'll go ahead and complete it, and then you'll be able to submit your work and we'll talk about that. Okay, so with the last remaining 5 minutes, you will do what is called a work submission on the exam. For today's purposes, we're not going to have you submit because of the fact that there are so many of you and that we did not want to be inundated with the ability, we didn't want to be inundated with the files right now because we were unable to offer you feedback in time for tomorrow's review. So we will actually go over and review those questions tomorrow. However, if your teacher is requiring you to go ahead and send that information on to them, I would recommend that you go ahead and submit your work to them. But let's kind of talk about what that looks like for the exam day. So when you submit your work, the best thing for you to do is to use a laptop or a desktop computer. I know many people would prefer to write their answers out, and that's a little bit more long, elongated process, and I can kind of talk to you about that and how that looks as well. But it is preferable that you use what is called the copy and paste method. So what you'll do is you can type you have a various platforms that you can use. You can use Google Docs, you can use Microsoft Word, you can use Notes, any type of similar applications that will allow you to have the ability to copy and paste. Don't include any type of images or anything like that. Make sure that you are saving your work often. So that way, if you make the mistake and hit a wrong button and something happens, you're able to get your work back. At the top, you will write your APID number, which will be presented to you on your ticket. And just remember to kind of write that down on your sheet of paper if you're planning on writing it out. And then you'll put your initials at the top of your response. And all of this will be explained to you on your testing ticket. So don't forget. So don't feel like you have to write all this down. When the timer has 5 minutes remaining, what you will do is you will copy and paste your response into the space indicated and hit submit. We recommend it to a lot of you guys that you go ahead and do the demo, and I'll give you the link for that so that you can kind of do practice with that. If you want to kind of practice copying and pasting, maybe take your response for today and just copy and paste it just so you can kind of see how that works. That's a wonderful idea. But again, we just did not have the ability to be able to give feedback to over the over we have about 1.5 thousand view for 1.5 thousand viewers who are watching us right now, and so we just do not have the ability to give you the feedback that you deserve at this time. um, the thing you need to make sure that you have for the exam day setup is what they say side-by-side windows. So in one window, you can run Chrome, Firefox, Safari, or Edge, where you will see your exam question on one side. And this will appear after you click on your e-ticket. And then in your second window is where you're going to actually have the place where you're going to actually write everything up. So your Google Doc, your Word, your notes, whatever you plan on using. So this is kind of an example of what they're saying. So one part will be where you'll be actually on the internet, and then the other part will be where you'll actually be typing in your responses for the information. All right. So let's just say, for example, you decide that you want to write your you write your answers out because you don't really feel comfortable with typing, and that's fine. So the best thing for you to do is after you have sorry. So you're going to type your responses out according to this. And what you'll do is you'll kind of take a picture of your responses. You'll kind of take a picture of the snapshots. You will have to email them to yourself. And the thing about it is you need to email them. When you email them to yourself, you need to do them like in a JPEG or that type of thing. Or I think some camera phones have the ability to save it like in like a PDF format. And so once you kind of take those pictures, you'll then have to email it to yourself, and then you'll have to download it into your computer. And then this is where you actually have to kind of come in and upload your files into that thing. Is called attaching a document. And so with that, same thing, you'll have your APID number, you'll have your initials, all that kind of thing. After you upload, once you download everything into your computer, um, and then you will actually upload it into your exam box that way. And then it needs to be one of these files. It needs to be saved in the format of a DOC, a DOCX, PDF, a TXT, or ODT. Once it is uploaded that way, then you will then hit submit. And just kind of remember the same thing, having that side-by-side window, so that way you can kind of make sure that you are uploading and you get it done, because you will only have 5 minutes in order to submit that. So just kind of keep in mind as you're doing this DBQ that this is a rough draft. There is the expectations that there will be some mistakes, so don't feel like it has to be perfect. But the main thing is that you kind of get through and make sure that you answer the question very thoroughly. This is kind of what I was talking about with the handwritten responses right here. And they do recommend you using a smartphone or a tablet to do that. And again, just make sure that you write as clearly as you possibly can. It's recommended that you use dark blue or black ink. So kind of the same things that you would use when you're actually taking your AP exam if you were doing it in person. Um, Pencil, you can use pencil, just make sure that you press hard. A number two pencil, don't use mechanical because mechanical can sometimes be very, very light and it may not pick up everything that you need for it to pick up. So again, just make sure that you have it so that there's no glare, that you put the smartphone so that it displays everything there, that it's clear. What it says is use vertical orientation, do not use landscape. You need to have one photograph per photo, and just make sure that your response, if your response is longer than a page, then just make sure that you take a separate photo for each individual page that you have written. And then of course, make sure, be careful when you're using black pen, when you're using your pens, that you don't use like the Expo markers or the Expo very thin ones that you can write with, mainly because those kind of bleed through. And if you decide that you're going to write on both sides of the paper, it can kind of bleed through onto your other response, and it can kind of make it very difficult to read. So I would just basically just kind of recommend a regular, ordinary, everyday pen that you normally would use in your class or that you would use in your AP exam. And again, this is during your last 5 minutes that you will have when you actually will submit your exam question. When you do this the submission, remember it is a two-step process. The first part is attaching or pasting your response. The attaching comes when you decide to write your responses out. The pasting comes when you decide to type and copy and paste. And then you actually have to click submit. So just because your file is uploaded, don't forget that you have to click submit. If you'll notice over here where it says attached photos here, you'll notice that this person had written 2 pages. So they basically made sure that both of their photos were then, they uploaded a photo each time, and then they would end up hitting submit. If you had a file where you decided that you didn't want to do copy and paste, you just want to type everything out and then save it, which is kind of like almost the same format as the copy and paste, except for you're not actually copying and pasting. You're just deciding that you're going to type everything out, and then you're going to save it as a file name and then browse for it on your computer and then attach it. You can do it that way as well. But remember, if you don't click submit before the timer runs out, this is very important, your response will not count. So make sure that you click submit before your timer runs out. Once you click submit, it may take a few minutes before it actually does submit. It really does depend on your bandwidth and your Wi-Fi connection, and it's okay because it's already kind of started the process. So for us, we don't have 2 questions, but if you happen to take an exam where you have 2 questions, you will be able to move on to the next question as long as your first question is continuing to transfer. So do not feel panicked if it's still kind of transferring and it looks like the timer is about to run out. If it continues after the exam ends, just wait for a message. If on next Friday when you take this, just wait for a message that basically just says your exam is complete. Please, 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 I implore you to make sure that you wait for that message. And I would also recommend taking a picture of it just in case if something happens on the back end. Technology does happen. You just want to just kind of make for yourself, just, kind of as verification that yes, you did see that it did say that your exam was complete. And then, of course, if you never see the AP exam is complete message, then that's when you need to go here. You need to go to cb.org/request makeup, and you need to explain the situation and request an e-ticket for a June makeup date. And that, again, that happens. But if you happen to see that, or you end up getting like an error message or something like that, just make sure you just take the pictures of the screen so you can kind of verify that you kind of completed the whole process and you walked everything through. Just again, covering yourself just to ensure that everything is working out fine. All right. Last thing I wanted to leave you with are some important links. I will actually post these on our Twitter account for those of you who are following us on Twitter. And if you are not following us on Twitter, we are at virtual APUSH. It's all one word. But these are some things, excuse me. that we kind of recommend that you check out, especially as you're kind of preparing for your exam. Number one, you should already know about My AP and My AP Classroom. That is pretty much where all of your information is going to go when they send you copies of your testing ticket. AP Classroom, of course, is where you can get your practice in from your teacher when they assign things. You can also get some extra practice in from some of those questions that they put inside of AP Classroom that we talked about last week. When you want to go to the demo site, which is what I recommend you guys doing, so you can practice kind of uploading since we're not uploading today. That's number two with the cb.org/AP demo. Make sure that you go through the required docs and recommend